Hi, welcome to Class 8. It's all about the body, the effect, the thing that creates itself out of nothing, but is not an entity nor is it caused to anything else. So as we explore the body, we begin to understand more about this relationship between our subjective mind, or our spiritual mind, and the subjective mind, or our soul. So, here we go. When we take a look at the subconscious mind, and this is just some basic mechanical ideas here, the subconscious is basically invisible, although it has the manifest form and possibility of turning itself into anything. And in this case, we have what's basically a jar of peanuts, but that's just symbolic of the infinite capacity of the mind to respond, because the mind responds to our requirements, our demands. And in this case, it's a hunger, and that hunger, of course, is for some sort of internal idea of manifest food, such as a peanut butter sandwich. But that always sort of backs up the concept that the thought becomes the thing. And that's the key here. Everything from the peanut butter to the peanuts is just thought becoming the thing. And that's how we get fed. So let's get started. The basics: body, the creative outcome. Body, the temporary effect. What is the body? Why is it called the objective? What exactly changes? Exactly what changes? Form and effect, cause and effect, unity and multiplicity, immortality, and a divine mental picture? Mysteries. But here goes. The definition of the body. The body is the objectification of spirit. Soul is unmanifest form. Body is the result of spirit working through soul, or law. The entire manifestation of spirit, both visible and invisible, is the body of God. There is one body of the universe. Within this one body is included all lesser bodies. Body means the entire manifestation of spirit on all planes. Jesus said, "In my Father's house are many mansions." The body is visible. The idea is invisible. The physical universe is the body of God, the invisible principle of all life. Behind the objective form of the rose is the idea that projects the rose. Body is always effect, never cause. The body is not unreal. It is real, but it is an effect, not an entity. The body is the objective manifestation of a subjective mind and a consciousness. And if we are to be well and happy, not only the body, but the mind also must be peaceful and harmonious. If the body is to be well, the soul must be poised, the mind peaceful and happy. Mental healing is when the soul is poised in the true spiritual realization, the body will be normal and healthy. We treat the body as a legitimate effect controlled by the soul life. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to grasp all the things that are going on here, but if you've been following along in class, you get the idea that we're talking about something that's happening instantaneously and simultaneously. As we think, as we know something, it instantly manifests as the effect. Now, I gave you the example of the peanuts. When we have a hunger, we know that we desire something, and that peanut turns into that peanut butter sandwich. But that consciousness is invisible. The idea of the peanut's invisible. The idea of the rose is invisible. But behind that idea is manifesting an objective experience. And so that objective experience has got to come through something, and it comes through what we call as the soul, the law. The spirit interfering with the soul manifests an idea, and that idea manifests as form. But it happens instantaneously, right away. So everything you're experiencing is in fact caused by some idea, some concept, some thought. If that's true, and that's the idea that we're proffering here, is that is true, then we can change that thought and change the experience we're having and change the physical manifestation. That's the basis of all healing. That which changes, the spirit, is absolute being and is the only thing that has self-knowing, volition, choice, or will. Soul is the servant of the spirit, and the soul must obey the will of the spirit. The body of the universe cannot help changing. The spirit within itself is constantly passing into form. So we have the body, the manifestation, and soul, the way, or law, by which it manifests. So that which changes, absolute being, That's the changeless turning into itself. The universe can't help it. When you make a demand upon the universe, that demand automatically passes into some sort of internal experience first, and then it manifests in an outward expression of some sort of what we call in our teaching demonstration. And that's the way it works. Constantly, the body, the effect, the outcome is always the result of this sum total of our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions. That's why it's so important for us to know ourselves and to determine what we want and what is seeking to emerge. Reading on. Form within the formless. What takes form is the inanimate and infinite stuff. The nature of this stuff is to take form. Form is within the formless. Form is not self-knowing. Form is not an illusion, even when it is the form of disease. If the formless never took form, spirit would never have self-realization. Form takes form in time. Time is a sequence of events in a unitary wholeness. It is recollection, attention, and anticipation, past, present, and future, simply the measure of experience. Time leads to self-fruition or realization. We have form, time, and what we call space, which is never a thing of itself, but the possibility of outline. Without outline, we would walk through each other without recognition. Form is real, but is not self-conscious. It is subjective to the power that created it. Forms come and go, but the power back of them is changeless. Form is temporary, but mind is eternal. This is profound stuff when you sort of conjure up that there's this power working within you that is changeless, but it's always changing into the form or the idea that we're thinking. And we're getting back to the fact that without that form, there would be no way to recognize each other. So you might say that the divine idea, the divine intelligence, was so intelligent that it created form so we could recognize ourselves, but also recognize the power, where it is, that power. And that power is in our word, the ability to speak our word with conviction and to know the truth, which is the basis of all affirmative prayer. Read on. Cause and effect. Effect is that which did not make itself, but must have a power back of it, causing it to be. All manifestation, all body is effect and is subject to cause. Things which are seen are not made of things which do appear. What we see comes from that which we do not see. Self-knowingness is in spirit, and the law which executes the volition of spirit is entirely subconscious or subjective to the will of spirit. Therefore, it follows that both cause and effect are spiritual. Spirit never thinks of methods or process. Whatever it is involved must evolve. The contemplation of spirit, the self-knowingness of God, produces involution. Evolution is the passing of thought into manifestation. Now, again, profound. Stuff that we're talking about here has to do with the fact that when you're involved in something, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and knowingly and intellectually, that involvement automatically produces an evolution. Something evolves out of what we're involved with. So that's why we have to consciously focus our attention on what we want to involve ourselves with and dismiss the power to anything that no longer serves our higher purpose. Now that's so classically important, because if we don't consciously do that, then we always walk around and call the muck and mire of our old thinking and all that sort of swamp thinking of old ideas. Moving on. Unity and multiplicity. From unity, which is the one back of all things, through the one law, which is the medium of all action, multiplicity is manifested, but the many never contradict the unity of the whole. We are dealing with an infinite intelligence, and with an infinite law within this intelligence, we see that no limit could be placed upon the creative principle. Now, I want you to understand the following thing I'm going to read to you, because it really lays out pretty clearly what Holmes is talking about in a very philosophical way. But it uses words about absolute causation and perception and how we operate on a certain level or a certain plane. But whatever we do, we have to understand that there is this deep-rooted sense of who we are that never loses a contact with the original harmony of who we are. So even though we may think we're out of sorts with the world, the truth is there's always an internal universal harmony functioning by means of us. Here we go. Could we understand absolute causation? We should perceive it to be pure intelligence operating through perfect law and producing effects which live and have their being not by the virtue of an isolated life, but by reason of a universal unity which permeates all things. We should then see that the world of multiplicity is deep-rooted in a universe of unity, that nothing happens by chance, that we live under a government of law, from the vast planetary system to a garden of roses, from the archangel, the Christ, to the saint and the sinner, through good and in what is called evil, through cosmic activities and in human destinies, we behold the vast objective panorama of invisible but adequate subjective causes. Now, we can never doubt that the very mind which we now use is the intelligent principle from which all life draws its power into be and its intelligence to express. The furtherance of evolution depends upon our ability to sense a unity with nature and her forces. When the knowledge of this unity comes alike to all, the tread of armies will cease and the bugle call will echo the soft notes of brotherly and sisterly love. You know, Ernest Holmes had this amazing grasp, and I know he didn't come to it like instantaneously, but sequentially as he began to build this model in his mind, based upon the work of so many people like Emerson and Turrell and Plotinus and Jesus, he began to see this universal presence, which really depends upon our ability to interfere with it, to have faith, not the faith in it, but the faith of it, the faith of that presence, that it is absolutely no need to doubt its presence, no need to doubt that God is with you always. You can instantly change on a dime, just like that, if you have the faith and the subjective understanding that your will, your spirit, sometimes willful, sometimes demanding, drawing upon that power of love or life or joy or beauty or truth or peace or any of those great verities, will always pull to you that perfect idea which will manifest as the truth the minute you know with absolute conviction that is the truth. Now let's talk immortality. When this physical body is rendered useless and no longer functions, another one may be already there to take over. Planes are not places, they are states of consciousness. When we die, our body disintegrates and a new body appears, but not on this plane. Spirit knows nothing outside of itself. Whatever spirit knows must be a definite mental image, concept, or idea. It is clear that as the self-consciousness of spirit knows within itself, it knows upon itself as law. Or should I say as a question, is it clear that as the self-consciousness of spirit knows within itself, it knows upon itself as law? Sometimes when people are trying to grasp this sense of eternality or immortality, they sometimes confuse immortality and eternality with the effect. Like this effect is what's supposed to be forever. But it isn't. What's forever is the changeless nature of our capacity, the scope and range of our ability to manifest and turn into something that even is more expressive of that which we know as God. This is why Ernest Holmes said, is it clear that the self-consciousness of spirit knows within itself, it knows upon itself as law. So whatever we know within ourselves has got to act upon that law, has got to come into manifestation as our experience. Therefore, if we are clear, more clear than ever before, that we are the agents of this that love is, and that we do not have to live in fear or doubt or any uncertainty about the future, then we can function as the changing expression of that perfect changeless principle which is manifesting by means of us, so that we can keep evolving from our involution into a greater idea. Reading on. A divine mental picture. As we look at the many millions of forms, all of different shape and color, and yet know that they all come from one stuff, Are we not compelled to accept the fact that there is a specific cause or concrete mental image back of every idea or thing, a divine mental picture? In the subjective world, there must be a correspondent of everything in the objective world. And since the subjective world is a receptive or plastic substance, this correspondence can find its initial starting point only in real intelligence. Therefore, intelligence is the ultimate creative agency of the universe. I love this idea. This is right up my alley, as being the agency. It's the only intelligence, the divine intelligence is the agency, and we're the agents. We're the distributing point of that agency. So when we swing our thoughts and our ideas to that presence of God, we begin to distribute love. Not fear, not uncertainty, not doubt, but love. And that love casts out all our fear, casts out all our doubt, and just enables us to be an even stronger expression of that which God is. Reading on. Affirmative prayer. The universe is one infinite divine intelligence thinking upon its perfection and creating all of life. I am the outcome of God's infinite intelligence thinking of its perfect love. In this moment, God is the source of all joy and affluence. My life is the avenue through which God's perfect nature flows. I am moved into this peaceful, loving force into an experience of prosperity and peace. There is no power in worry, concern, or fear. All good moves by means of the one infinite power of life, and all of my good is the eternal experience of this goodness forever unfolding within. Thank you, God, for all of my creative blessings. Even the negative turns into the productive as I respond with gratitude. Release. This word is now the law and the effect, and so it is. And some affirmations. I'll read them twice. The first time you listen, the second time you read it with me. Right now, my wealth and affluence is the product of all I give with love, joy, and peace. Together? Right now, my wealth and affluence is the product of all I give with love, joy, and peace. God's perfect blessings now move into a greater and greater sense of gratitude. Together. God's perfect blessings now move into a greater and greater sense of gratitude. Today, my life is supplied with all that is necessary for my highest experience of love. Together, today, my life is supplied with all that is necessary for my highest experience of love. In this moment, the nature of God's affluence is my nature. All is well, and all is unfolding as it should. Together, in this moment, the nature of God's affluence is my nature. All is well, and all is unfolding as it should. Life is a blessing. All of my relationships, circumstances, and conditions now express perfect wealth, health, and joy. Together, life is a blessing. All of my relationships, circumstances, and conditions now express perfect wealth, health, and joy. There is only the good and the ongoing presence of love's creative power. Together, there is only the good and ongoing presence of love's creative power. Everywhere I look, I see only God manifest in all of its perfect glory and awesome form. And together, everywhere I look, I see only God manifest in all of its perfect glory and awesome form. This is really amazing stuff. It's amazing because it really does make clear the idea that there is a power functioning within us, and it's universal, and it knows itself just like we know ourselves. And it gave us this, endowed us, and we inherited this amazing ability to know ourselves like it knows itself. So when we think on those ideas of perfect love, perfect peace, perfect joy, perfect prosperity, then we begin to inform ourselves because we're pulling from an eternal intelligence which knows exactly what it means by that. And as it informs us, it lifts us into a higher expression, and the outcome is a greater experience of joy, of peace, of love, of life, of the presence of truth. When we receive in that fashion, there is this corresponding factor that is constantly reciprocating in this endless cycle of involution and evolution, involution and evolution. That's the way it works. So remember that the truth is always with you. Your body is the perfect outcome of all of the subtotal of everything, sum total of everything that you believe about who you are. Change that belief, and you will change that outcome.